everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to Shields Live again on this beautiful May the 4th be with you, Star Wars fans. Finally got some good weather. It's really nice out there. Again, thanks for joining us here. Today, Jan's going to be talking about, we're going back to sewing for this month. We got a couple really nice some really nice sewing machines, quilting machines. And today she'll be working on the PS700, showing a couple features of that. Just a really nice durable machine for your alterations, doing some quilting, things like that. So we'll be showing that. Also a couple little announcements. Brother, I will send an email out here shortly, but Brother is doing some financing starting tomorrow, Cinco de Mayo. So this month is full of different days. Starting tomorrow on the 5th, there'll be some 0% financing available. Arrow is running a special on their chairs right now. So normally, around $349, $329, they're on sale for $299. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so really nice for Mother's Day for the month of May. So again, really appreciate everybody coming joining us, and always appreciate the likes and shares and comments. And as I said in the past, if there's something you really want to see or want us to do, definitely shoot us an email or a comment. We'll certainly try to work it in. But again, thanks for coming. Glad you're here, but also get out and enjoy this weather. And I'll pass it over to you. So take it away, Jan. Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
Thanks, Tim. Okay. Oh, he got it. Sometimes you have to hit the right button to get so it's nice that he's in Davenport now on Thursday. So it works out really well that we can do this together, but we can be in two different places. And I just send him a little link and he clicks on it and comes in, and then he can take himself out. So it works out really well. So, all right. So today we're going to talk about the PS700. And, this is a really nice machine. So if you're looking for a nice machine that has some good accessories with it, super easy to use, not super expensive, or maybe you're looking for a travel machine if you want to come to a retreat, or if you want to travel with a nicer sewing machine, maybe than like a 40-year-old one you've had that you've traveled with. This is a really nice machine, and it has some nice accessories, has an extension table with it, and some extra feet for quilting. So they added like a little quilting package to it. So it is really nice because it just has some of the expensive things that you would have to buy extra with some of the machines. So, all right, so let me switch the camera over, and we're just gonna talk about this machine. I'm gonna wind bobbins and thread it, and we'll just talk about the screen and just do the basic stuff on it, just so you can kind of see how it works. All right, so let me get my settings set here. Switch my camera and my microphone so I can turn my head here. Oops, there we go. All right, so I think you're hearing me. It's easier for me I have two microphones, so I always have to switch the microphone because you can't really hear me if I turn my head on the one on my laptop. Okay, so this is the PS700. And so I put the extension table on. So it comes with this extension table. A few years ago, they redid this machine package, and it never came with like a walking foot and a darning foot. So this is some of the stuff. Let's just talk about some of the extra stuff it comes with. Oh, let me grab the banner here too. Let me hide the banner. There we go. Okay. So this was something a few years ago, they redid it, and they just kind of renamed it again, and they went back to the Pacesetter name. And they added some quilting accessories, which is like super nice because they're, fairly expensive individual pieces. And so they added these to the package. So they added the extension table, and of course you still get the free arm. So here's the free arm box. I just took it off and put the extension table on. So that's one thing you get. This one has a knee lifter on it too. And I don't know, let me see if I can get the camera down low enough. There's a little hole down here at the bottom right here that the little knee lift goes in, that you can raise your presser foot with it. So I just don't have it in today, but that's another thing that this machine has. Okay. And then they also included some quilting feet. So they put in the walking foot, and the quilt guide. So this is the little guide that goes into the back of your foot like that. So that you can do straight line quilting. So they added that to it because those are normally separate. And then they also added, let's see, oh, they added the darning foot or the free motion foot. So there's a free motion foot with it. So that's another one of the extra fees. And then they also added a piecing foot. So here's the piecing foot with the guide. So that's in there with that machine. And then they also had some extra, oh, and then this is the other extra quilting one. They have an open toe foot with it. So that's a nice extra foot too. And it's the metal one. I like the metal one because it's a little easier to see where the lines are. There's red lines on it. So it's a little easier. I don't know if you can see it very well. Let me pull it up a little bit. There you go. Should be able to see that a little better. Okay, so that's with it. And then they also added a couple of garment things with it that I really like. So I really like, this is my favorite zipper foot. So normally the machines, most of the machines, the standard ones don't come with this foot. This is a zipper foot. You know, it's one of the old style ones that slides back and forth, but it also has, it's good for piping. So if you're making like pillows and putting piping or doing some piping on your quilt bindings, this is really nice because then you can slide it and then you can get closer to where you're sewing. So I really like that zipper foot comes with it. And then they add the Teflon foot. So I use this Teflon foot quite often for like vinyl and leather, anything that's like your foot sticks to. So I use it a lot, like if I sew on like vinyl for a bag or something. So that comes with it. And then it also has the stitch guide foot, which has all the little marks on it. So if you need to make some small lines that are equal distance apart, you can use this foot for that. So this is the stitch guide foot. So that's some of the extra stuff that comes with this machine over the normal feet. So I'll get these normal feet out so you can see. I'll just take the tray out so you can see. So like these are the ones that come with most of the machines. Oh, hi, Jean. So people are still coming in. Hi, everybody. So these are the normal, you know, kind of garments feet that come with almost all the machines. The buttonhole foot, the zipper foot. We have an overcasting, the end foot, which is for the decorative stitches, and the blind hemming foot, and then the one that sews the buttons on. So this is the button foot that you can sew your buttons on with. So this one has quite a lot of extra little feet, you know, and you know when you like start adding these up, they add up quite a bit. So this was a nice package, and they called it, they actually in the instructions or like the product flyer call it a quilting bundle. So with the extension table and then some of these quilting feet especially. So I think that this is a really nice package. And they really didn't change the price of the machine. Like when they added this package, it stayed about the same. So I was actually really happy about that because this is just a nice, modestly priced machine with a lot of features. Okay, so I'm going to lay all these feet over here. We're not going to talk about all of them specifically. We're mostly going to talk about the machine today. All right, so let's just do our normal things. Let's wind a bobbin. So these are going to be very much the same as most of the other machines. I'm going to unthread it. I just had it threaded. This one also has a nice automated needle threader, has speed control, has needle up and down, you can run it with or without a foot controller. So there's just a lot, you know, our normal really nice things that a lot of the brother machines have. So let's go ahead and wind a bobbin. Now the bobbin, and this is something I always like to show everybody. When you put your bobbin on, if you turn it, okay, and listen very closely, I'm going to put the microphone a little closer. You can hear it click in. So make sure when you put your bobbin down that you turn it so that it clicks in. There's like a little slot, and it'll make that little click sound. So just go ahead and make sure you turn it. And that way your bobbin is going to wind more evenly on the inside because it's not going to be spinning to try to find that little slot first. So I always like to tell people that. Okay, so let's talk about how to make a bobbin with this machine. So here is my spool of thread. I have it laying on the spool pin with the thread coming out from the underneath, and that's the way they're supposed to come off. I'm going to put my my thread cap on, and you know, honestly, I want my other thread cap. I like to try to make the thread cap basically the size of my spool thread. So give me a second here. I think I've got, there's 3 sizes you get. So you get the small one, which works better for these threads. So let's get the small one. And this is the medium one. And they usually put this on the machine. And this works okay, but this one's nice because it's a little closer to the size of my thread. So we're going to put the small one on this one. And then I'm going to wind a bobbin. So these are all marked on the machine. And we're going to follow these dashed lines. So we're going to start out just as if we were going to thread it, but we're going to go this direction to the bobbin winder. So let me pull this up a little bit so you can see. So a lot of the other machines are the same as this. So we're going to go 1, 2, kind of go underneath this little silver thing. And then I'm going to go across over here behind the thing that sticks back. So there's like a finger that's sticking back here. I'm going to go behind it. And then I'm going to pull the thread down under the little button. Now that's the mistake that a lot of people make, is this little button here on the top is actually the tension. And if the thread is not under that, it will be too loose. So it's not going to wind properly. And the picture doesn't really show pulling the thread under the button. So be aware that you need to put it behind the thing sticking out, pull it down in between that and the button, and then pull it under the button real tight. So then I've got tension. You can see I've got tension there. Okay. Then we're going to go over here to the bobbin. I'm going to wind it around clockwise, maybe 6 or 7 times. And then there's a little cutter down underneath this gray thing. So I'm just going to cut it off, and that'll hold the thread for you. Because, you know, the old style machines, we had to go up through the holes and hold the thread up here. So we don't have to do that with this. Okay, so I'm going to push this over then. And then I'm going to go down here, and I do not have a foot controller hooked up to this machine. So we're just going to use the button. So this is the go button. And since I have the bobbin winder pushed over right now, it is kind of a yellow-orange color. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that, and it's going to wind my bobbin. This is the speed control. So I'm going to rev it up just a little bit and let it wind a bobbin for us. And so we won't wind the whole thing, but I need to have some bobbin thread, so we'll sew a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to hit the same button down here and turn it off. All right, so I'm happy with that much bobbin thread on there. I'm going to push this over, and then I'm going to cut it off. Okay, so now I've got my bobbin. So let's learn how to put the bobbin into the machine. So we're going to go down here. I've got my little bobbin door off, my little gray bobbin door, and you just pull this little button back to take it off. Okay, and what I'm going to do with my bobbin is I'm going to make the letter P. So I'm going to have the tail off the left, so it's like the letter P. All right, and then I'm going to lay it in the bobbin case, and I'm going to follow. There's a little gray line, and I wish this you could see this just a little bit. It's a little hard on the gray to see it, but there's a little gray arrow that goes around here. Okay, so I'm going to put my finger on top of the bobbin, and I'm going to pull this thread underneath the gray arrow right here. And most of the machines, it's the same way. This is the same system. So I'm going to pull it up and over, and I'm going to cut it off because there's another cutter over here. Now, with me putting my finger on top of the bobbin, it made my thread, as you can see, there's tension there. See how the thread's caught in something? There's a little tension unit right underneath this gray thing. So you need to make sure it gets in there. So that's why I like to put my finger on top, pull it underneath and up and over like that. Okay? So we got the bobbin in. So let's talk about threading the machine. It's like I'm trying to get my threads in my bucket over here so I won't have them all over the floor. Okay, let's put our little door on. So the little door has a little finger that sticks out here, and it's going to go in right here. And I'm just going to slide it under there and push it down. To take it off, again, you're going to pull this little button back, and it pops right up. Okay, so there's our bobbin. All right. So when you go to thread this machine, we're going to start the same way as we did for the second here. I got to make sure my foot's up. Okay, so we'll show you that too. The presser foot, when you're threading, especially at the top of the machine, needs to be in the upright position. So the presser lever on these machines is sort of in the back. They kind of moved them. A lot of the older ones, they were in here. These are kind of along in the back. Okay, so I'm going to pull it up. And you can see when I have it down, my light is green, so it's like ready to sew. But when we're threading, we don't want it to be green. We want it to be red. So I have it pulled up. So I know that my tension unit up here is open. You'll also notice, I don't know if you can see it here. Can you see this little door right here? If that door is shut, and see now it's open, that means that it's not ready to thread. You need to have the door open, okay? The red light and the door needs to be open. Okay, so now let's go ahead and thread. So we're going to follow the straight line. So these lines are straight, not dashed. So we're going to basically start out the same way that we did before. So we're going to go 1, 2, and then we're going to go down and across over here, and 3's down here at the bottom. Okay, and we're going to go down and back up again. Now 4, there's a little lifter right in that door, and if that door's shut, see, we can't access that. So I'm going to kind of take my hand. Let me pull the camera back a little bit so you can see. I'm going to kind of take my hand, and don't try to get it in there. Just swing your hand around this way and push it over to the left, from the right to the left, and it'll just slide right in there automatically. Okay, I'll do that again so you can see it. Some people, if you try too hard to get it in there, it doesn't slide. So just kind of slide your arm, kind of swing your arm over like this, and it'll just go right in there. Okay, then I'm going to go down. Number 5 is straight down. Number 6 is going to be a little hard on this machine to see because I can't get my arm to stay down far enough, but there's a little guide right above the needle right here. Okay, so it needs to go behind that. And what I usually do at this point is I like to put my presser foot down and get my foot out of my way. And now also, see, there's tension on this thread, and it makes it easier. These little guides above the needles are pretty snug, especially when they're new. So then I can take my thread, I can put my thumb across it, and I can pull it into that little slot. And it is important that that goes all the way into that slot. Okay, so that's the way I do it. I like to put, when I get down to number 5, I like to put my foot down, and then it slides into that slot easier above the needle because it is a little on the tight side. Okay, now before we try to thread the machine, this one has a nice automated needle threader. I moved this machine, so I want to make sure that my needle is in the upright position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look here on my buttons, and we'll talk about the buttons here too. This button is the first one we're going to use, and this button is the needle down, needle up button. So I'm going to press the needle down so that the needle goes all the way down, and then I'm going to push it one more time. So then I know my needle is in the complete upright position before I try to thread it. And it's very important on all of your machines that you do that. So if you have an electronic machine like this that has that button, before you thread your machine, needle down, needle up, and then you know your needle is in the correct position for threading, especially if you've broken the needle. Because sometimes when a needle breaks and you put it in, and if you don't use your needle up and down button, the needle bar is slightly moved, you know, it's usually down a little bit. So it's not in the correct position. So remember, needle up, needle down before threading. And if you get used to doing that every time, you'll never have problems with your needle threaders. Okay, it really helps a lot. Okay, so now to thread this, it's super easy. We're going to go across, you know, I got it in the little notch back here, and then there's a little notch right here. Let's see if I can get it on the camera right there. And I'm just going to slide the thread across that notch, and then I'm going to push it into the number 7. There's like a little slot right here, and on the bottom of it says number 7. It's a little hard to see because this machine's a little low. I'm going to slide it across the notch, push it into number 7, and then I'm going to, over here at the side, if I turn my machine a little bit, you'll see it better. There is a cutter right here, and I'm just going to swing this thread up and cut it off. Okay, so that's important to do that. You need to cut it off. All right, and then the last step, and see, I'm going to leave my foot down. This works best, I think, with the foot down. This lever up here, which is number 9, we're going to push it down till it clicks, and that threads the needle. Okay, so now the needle is threaded. These needle threaders are very easy, and they are so nice, especially if you can't see very well without your glasses on like me. So I have a little trouble threading needles now. So I'm going to take my thread, and I'm going to slide it through the little foot slot and underneath my foot. So then I am ready to sew with this machine. Okay. We have it threaded. We got a bobbin in. We got it in correctly. So let's talk about a few of these little things on the machine so you know what all these are. And then we'll start talking about the screen. So again, this was the button that makes the machine run. So you don't have to use a foot controller. It comes with one, of course, so you don't have to use it if you don't want. And if I put my foot down, see, then this light turns green. So that means it's ready to sew. Okay. These two buttons are reverse and tie off. So this is the reverse button. So if you physically want the machine to go backwards, you press and hold this button. If you want the machine to just tie a knot in place, you touch the polka dot button. So let me show you that so you can see what it looks like. Sometimes I want to tie off and sometimes I don't. So I'm just going to lower my needle also before I start showing. Yes, Shannon, this is a sewing only machine. This is the PS700 and this is a sewing machine. And it doesn't have embroidery. It does have some lovely decorative stitches and some lettering, but it doesn't have embroidery on it. So I've got my needle down in my fabric, okay? And I'm going to make the machine go forward with a straight stitch. If I want to reverse, I'm going to hold in the button. And when you let go, it stops, okay? And then I'm going to go forward again. And if I want to just tie a knot in place, I'm going to touch the polka dot and I'm going to hold it. It's going to go up and down 3 times and it's going to stop. Then the other button I want to show you is the cutter. This machine has a cutter. This is awesome. You touch the little cutter button, cuts the thread off underneath. And then and this has 2 little short tails here, okay? And that cuts the thread off. So you don't have to pull out all of that expensive cotton thread that we so often use and cut it off on the side. So you just have a couple of little short threads at the end. All right. So that's some of the buttons on the front. Again, we talked about this being the speed, needle up and down. Of course, we talked about that with the threading, cutter, and that's the machine, the buttons along the front of the machine here. Okay. So when you turn your machine on, there are some menus over here. And the menus on this machine, when you turn the machine on, it automatically comes up to this first little menu that looks like this little keypad. It also tells you that's what it is by this little icon right here. So the designs or the stitches that I have available for this particular section is going to be my keypad. Okay, so here is, the straight stitch. 1 and 2 are the straight stitch with the needle on the left. 3 and 4 are the straight stitch with the needle in the center. There is a zigzag. There is a triple stitch or a stretch stitch, and there's a stretch zigzag. And then there's going to be this is going to be a blind hemming stitch. No, I'm sorry, this is an overcasting stitch. And then a 3-point zigzag. So these are the ones that are on this default menu that's this first button that's lit up here. Okay. So when you turn it on, that's the way, that's the ones that will come up. There are some things on this machine that are so nice. So there's a model called the PS500, and we did a Shields Live a while ago on the Presto, which is the baby lock version. Really, really nice machine, but it doesn't have some of the stuff this has. So I want to tell you about some of the differences. So the one thing that I love about this machine is it has this little button right here, and it's a settings menu, like a settings page. So I could touch that settings page and I can set things up on this machine, quite a few things to make it more specific to my sewing needs. Okay. So like I like to start and I just hit the button with the little piece of paper with the corner turned down. Most of the machines have this. And then I want to get down to the next line. So this line right here is the needle position. Well, right now it's set up for the needle to stop in the down position each time, which I really like. And then if I go down, I'm going to use the down button to go down to the next line. Twin needle is off. So I'm not using a twin needle right now. So I might need that sometime. And you would just turn it on with these buttons that go sideways. So see how now it's on and then I turn it off. So this is the settings page. So let's go down to the next one and see. Now the width control almost always will be off. So make sure if you're having a problem with like your needle position or something, check to make sure you didn't accidentally turn that on. It needs to be off. So width control off. The initial position is one thing that you might want to change on your machine. So if I hit this little arrow down again, I make this line dark, okay? And the initial position is set up out of the box to come up on the left. Now I have a really hard time sewing straight with the needle on the left. And I like it to be in the center because that's how I learned to sew. So what I do is it's always going to look like this. See how the needle's way over here kind of towards the left? And if I touch the little plus minus sideways button, I can make it go to the center. And that's one of the settings you may want to set up when you get your machine like this. So let's go down and see what else we can do. So elongation is for the decorative stitches. Thread density is also, and then character spacing. This one also has, I'll put this up here and we'll talk about these other menus, but this one has lettering fonts on it. And this one just has uppercase letters, but I think it has either 4 or 5 different ones. So we'll look and see how many it has. And then we're going to go down. Let's see. And the size selection means the size of your, like, the pictures on the screen. So that I have it set at the bigger size because it's harder, it's easier to see. These fine adjustments are also for decorative stitches. Okay, so that, and then the presser foot pressure is set at 3. So there's no dial. If you look at this machine up here, some of the machines have a little dial back here where you can manually adjust your presser foot pressure. This one has it in the settings. So it's down here in the settings. 3 is kind of a normal setting. If you need it to be a little less, if you're going through really heavy material, maybe go to 2. And if you're going through something a little thinner that it's not pulling it through very well, try 4. Okay. So 3 is the normal setting. And there's always a box around the kind of normal setting. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else in here. So then the buzzer means like when you hit the buttons, if there's a sound. Okay. So I like that on. Some people don't like to listen to the little beeps. I like it to be on to make sure that I've hit the right button. And then the light can be on or off. So like this light over here. So if I hit this button, see how it turned it off. So if sometimes when you're doing certain things, sometimes you need it to not be as glary. So you can turn it off if you need to. And then this brightness setting here is the brightness of the screen. So depending on your setup in your room, wherever you're sewing, you might need to change the brightness a little bit because it may need to be brighter or less bright. So that's in there. These are pretty cool. And this reinforcement priority has to do with the automated tie-in and tie-off. So we probably won't talk about that today. That someday when we want to do something real specific, we'll talk about that. And then the input sensitivity means that it's this how sensitive the buttons are for pressing them. I have a little trouble with my fingers sometimes. Buttons don't press real well for me. So sometimes I actually turn mine up a little bit and it works better for me. Okay. And then you can speak several languages. So today we're going to speak English. Okay. And then it tells you the version of the software that's on the machine. And that's all of the settings. So it is pretty cool that this has some abilities that the machine below it does not have. It doesn't have, it has a lot more settings that you can set up to be specifically for your likes. Okay. So let's talk about a couple of other things. So we want to get in, let's say we want to get into some of these other stitches that are on. So we've got, our basic stitches here. There's 10 stitches here. Okay. But let's say we want to go up here, and up here on the lid, it has all of these other stitches. Look at all these really pretty stitches. So these are kind of like more of the utility style stitches over here. And then these 3 are all decorative stitches more. And then we have the lettering fonts. But we need to have a different button pressed in order to access these. So to do that, there's several buttons down here. So this is the one that we're in right now. The next one down correlates to this first menu up here. So there's going to be a little, and you probably can't see it too well because I can't quite get the angle right. But over here is the little picture of the button. Okay, so as you look at these, this one has the leaves on it, and so is this one. So if you want to get into one of those stitches, you need to touch the corresponding button first. So I'm going to touch this one for that first set of menus. And one of the stitches, I got to hit OK down here first. Okay. Then I'm going to hit this button. So now we're in the menu that is up on the top left of my lid. So I actually use a lot of these stitches because I make buttonholes, and all of those are in this. But I also use this a lot. One of my favorite stitches is I use the piecing stitch for my piecing, for quilting. So I can find my piecing stitch, and the piecing stitches on this machine are number 25 and 26. 25 has the needle kind of towards the right, which is going to let me move my fabric to the edge of my foot over here. And then the 26 is the piecing stitch with the needle in the center if you're using a piecing foot. So I often just like to use the J foot that's on the machine. So let's try number 25 because I wanted to show you a couple things. So 25 is the one that's kind of on the right. So I'm in that menu right here. Tells me I'm in there. This one's lit up, and I'm just going to type in the numbers 25. Okay, it's going to show me a picture. So like the PS700 doesn't show me the picture of my stitch. It's kind of nice to see it because then you know you've got the one that you really wanted. Okay, now this is going to be the width of my stitch. And in the straight stitch world, this means the needle placement. So 5.5 is placed over towards the right. And what that means is I can take this foot and I can run it right along the right edge of my J foot. And it tells me over here, I'll show you too. And that way I'll have a 1/4 inch seam because the needle is positioned slightly to the right. And this one shows me that it is at 5.5 millimeters. So that's the normal setting for this piecing stitch. But this is the length of the stitch. Now, length of the stitch is a little short for me. I make a lot of mistakes and I have to rip a lot. So I actually like to sew with a little longer stitch. So I'm going to increase my stitch length to 2.5. And all I had to do is hit the little plus button right above that number. And now, the other thing this machine has that some of them don't is a saving feature. So I can actually save the setting. So every time I come back to this machine and this machine and this setting, or this stitch, I should say, it will come up with my setting. So I don't have to reset it every single time. Okay. So to do that, I'm just going to set it where I want it. And I want it at 2.5 for the length. There's a little button right here. I don't know if you can see it. It has like a little arrow with a square on it, kind of a diamond square. I'm going to hit that, and it says saving. So now, every time I come back to that stitch, it's going to have my settings saved. So let's go just to a different stitch. I'm just going to type in 58 for a minute, and then I'm going to go back to my, 25. So we're going to hit 25 again. And look, there's my setting. So that's one thing I've always loved about this machine is I can set if there's certain stitches that I use in certain ways. Another one that I always use a certain way is one of my zigzags. I have a certain size that I use for my binding. So I could set that one of my zigzags up for that stitch length and width so that I don't have to set it up every time I go there. Okay. So that is a nice saving ability that this machine has. If you wanted to reset and not be this anymore, you can hit the button right below, and it looks like a little piece of paper, kind of like a half piece of paper. And then see, now it's back to the normal settings. These black boxes mean that that's like their normal setting for that stitch. Okay. So if I want to save it again, I just go back up and I hit the button above it to save it. If I can get it to go. There we go. So it's going to save again. So this one has saving ability, which is really awesome. The other thing, let's see, I wanted to show you on the screen here. We'll look at a couple of the other menus too. But this little button here is real handy if you have to change needles, or if you're going to be working down around the foot area and you don't want to take the chance of starting the machine by accident. or if you have little fingers and little hands around, there's a little button right here that if you touch this and this comes up on the screen, that means that the machine is locked and none of the buttons work on the machine and you can't make anything go. So as you can see that everything turned red over here and none of these buttons work. So if little hands and fingers are around, that's a good thing to have. If you get up and move away from your machine, if you touch that, it's very, very safe for a child. In my case, sometimes it's my cat because she likes to walk around on my sewing machine and then she touches stuff with her head and stuff. And so I've had her actually turn on my machine before. So that's a way to lock the machine. So I'll touch that again just to unlock it. Okay. So let's do a little sewing. I want to show you my piecing stitch. So we've got it all set up here. Okay. Tells me to put on up here. It tells me what foot to put on my machine. So it says to have the J foot on, which is what I have. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my fabric right along the edge of my J foot right there. Okay. Is this a new, or I'm sorry, Shannon, I already answered your question. So this is not a real new model. They've had it for a while. But she asked if this was just sewing, and this is just a sewing machine. Okay, but the sewing stuff on this machine is very much like the other machines. This one has buttons instead of a touch screen, but it's very much the same. You know, the settings are going to be very much the same. All right, so I've got my needle down in my fabric. I've got it right along the edge of my foot. I'm going to turn it down a little bit because I don't have a foot controller hooked up. And I'm going to run this right along the edge of my foot, and this will be my 1/4 inch seam. It's a nice quiet machine, feeds really well, has nice long feed dogs, nice long foot on it. Okay, then I'm going to reach up here. I stop the machine, and then I'm going to reach up here, and I'm going to hit my cutting button. So there's my 1/4 inch seam. Okay, and they're very accurate. And what I like to do with this seam is I like to use, if I see the fabric just a little bit along the edge, that's a full 1/4 inch. If I take it and just kind of tuck it just barely under the edge of the foot, then I have a nice scant 1/4 inch. So I've done real well using that for piecing. And then I don't have to take my J foot off. And if I need to zigzag, you know, a few minutes later, I have the right foot on already, and I don't have to change the foot. So that's just one way to do it. The other thing I was going to show you in this area is a buttonhole. So let's see what time it is. Well, we've got a few minutes. Let's make a buttonhole. How many people have made buttonholes on their machines? People always tell me, oh, I can't make buttonholes. Oh my gosh, they are so easy. Okay, so we're going to make a buttonhole. It's one of my favorite things to do. I got to find so we're going to have a special foot for that. So let's go find our stitch first. Let's do I like this one, this number 58. It's a very pretty one. And I'm going to do that one. So let's go get number 58. So we're going to type in the number 58 here. 58. And it's going to come up and it's going to tell me I need to have the A foot on. And it's got the picture of my cute little buttonhole here. So my A foot is this big white thing. Okay. And I'm just going to pretend this is a button. I forgot to bring one back with me. So pretend my bobbin is a button. I'm just going to lay my button in the back of this. This thing slides out. This is how easy it is. You don't even have to measure them. Those older machines, oh my gosh, we had to measure everything and we had to put pins in to make sure we stopped at the right spot. This is so easy. Okay. So I'm going to put my button in the back. Okay. I'm going to take this foot off. So in order to take the foot off, there's a little button right where my finger is. I'm just going to press it in and it's going to drop off like that. We'll get this out of the way. And then we're going to slide this up and there's like a little bar on here, right here, that fits onto the shank of the machine. So I'm just going to pull this up and get it lined up and just put the foot down right on top. Now your button is going to be way back here and you probably can't see it. Okay. And then there's a little thing. It's right behind your, there's a little gray thing. It's just like a little arm thing right behind your needle threader here. I'm going to reach back and I'm going to pull that down. And this needs to go in between. There's two little fingers on the side of this foot. And can you see the little white finger sticking up? And you're going to put that behind there so that it's in between. Because now it's going to tell the machine how big to make the buttonhole. All right. So now the buttonholes work away from you. So I'm just going to go ahead and there's little lines on my foot here There's 2 green lines and then there's 3 red ones. And so I'm going to make it centered, and I'm going to drop my needle. Okay. And I am going to work with the buttonholes are going to go this direction. Okay. So I'm just going to hit my button, my go button, and it's just going to make my buttonhole. So see, all I have to do is keep it straight. And you hardly have to do that because these feed very, very straight. It's going to go forward, and then it's going to do a zigzag. I'm going to speed it up just a little bit. There we go. It's going to go back and do but it's making it the size of my button in the back. You just want to keep it straight. I remember going to doll classes, and my friends would all hand me their little undergarments and their little slips and everything. And they'd ask me to make all the buttons, the buttonholes, because nobody knew how to run the buttonholers on their machines. And these are so easy. So I just made tons of little buttonholes, and we're talking like buttonholes this big. They were like 1/4-inch buttons. All right, so I'm going to hit cut, and look at that beautiful buttonhole. And I didn't have to measure anything. Okay, so there's our buttonhole. So how easy was that? So that's in that first menu that we just talked about. So let's look at a couple of the decorative stitches. Got a few minutes here. We'll talk a little bit about some of these decorative stitches. So the next 2 areas, this one's mostly utility style, you know, your piecing stitches, and there's still some zigzags. They duplicate a few stitches in these just because that way you don't have to go back and forth from menu to menu to get into, different stitches. So they do add, a few duplicates. But let's say we're going to look at these decorative stitches here. So most of these are decoratives. And let's see, let's try the leaf 1. So there's leaf 1, leaf 2, and leaf 3. Okay, so that means that this little button that has a leaf, there's only one button with that. This one, you press it 1 time, and it says okay to cancel up here. That's okay. We're done with the stitch we were just doing. So now I'm in leaf 1. If I hit that same button again, now I'm in leaf 2, the menu. And then if I hit it 1 more time, I'm in leaf 3. So it's like a little toggle button. So you have to just get to the one that you want. So I want something in leaf 1. And I think I want stitch number 15. So let's type in number 15 here. Sorry, my fingers don't always work. So this is going to be kind of like a little, has the little stars on it. So it's kind of a cute little design. Okay. So I'm going to change my foot because the machine's telling me that I have to use a different foot. This one's telling me that I need to use the end foot. Okay. So my end foot looks like this. This is for decorative stitching. And I don't recommend using this one for just regular straight stitching because it doesn't pull. It's different because there's a kind of a slot in the middle of it that's for decorative stitching because you often have more threads under there. And if you use this for regular sewing, see, the feed dogs are not touching the center part, so it's not going to pull through as easy. But this one's for the decorative stitches so that you don't get, it doesn't press down on those stitches so much. Okay, so this is the end foot. So we're going to put that one on. And then let's sew a decorative stitch. I just wanted to show you a few things that this machine does. I just really like this machine, and it's very handy for different things. Now it's telling me that something is red. Oh, well, what does that mean? Well, remember we made a buttonhole and this little thing's down right here, and we need to push it up for the light to go green. So if I push this up, look, the light's green now. Okay, so now it knows it's not doing a buttonhole anymore. So let's do this pretty decorative stitch. So it's going to do the little stars. I always call them stars. They look like stars to me. And then you can change the length and the width, of course, but I didn't change. I just used the regular setting that it came up on. I'm going to hit stop, and then I'm going to hit my cutter up here. So let me see. Hopefully you can see it. Okay. So there is one of the decorative stitches in the menus. Okay. So see how easy to get around. Once you get used to getting around in the menus, they're all so fun, and you can just sit here and do all these little decorative stitches. And this one has quite a few, but not like an overabundance. But I do really like the lettering. So this one has some lettering. And these are only, this one only has uppercase lettering. So there's no lowercase letters. So let's go into this. So in order to get to this, I need to be in a different menu, and it's the letter A. And I'm going to click the letter A down here. And then I'm going to hit, oops, second here. There we go. So if I touch it, there's different fonts. So and it's also a toggle switch then. So I'm going to touch it, and then here's an outline font. I touch it again. Here's a font like for the sororities and fraternities, Greek lettering. Okay. Hit it again. They finally put some Japanese letters in the machine because it is a Japanese company. So they put some Japanese letters in it. So I'm going to touch it again. And then it's going to go back to a standard, like just standard, like varsity or kind of a athletic letter. Okay. And these are sewn letters. They're not going to be really satin stitch letters. One of my favorite letters is actually this is sort of like a little cursive letter, and I really like those. And then I like these outline ones too. Okay, so let's go ahead and do just the standard lettering. There's about 5 fonts then. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 on this machine. So you get 5 different fonts. These are about 1/2 inch sewn letters. Okay, so let's just pick a name. So up here on the top, up here, it gives me all of the letters, and I can choose a name or whatever I want, and I just type in the corresponding letter. Just so you know, the single letters need to have a 0 typed in the front, so they have to be 2 digits. So I'm going to go ahead and type my name because it's kind of short. And so my name is Jan, so I'm going to hit 10 first. 10 is J, maybe. There we go. 10. And then I'm going to type in the letter A. So that's 1. So I'm going to type in 01. And then the N is number 14. So I'm going to type 14. So that I've got JAN. And again, it still tells me to use the N foot. So that's what I've got on the machine already. We're going to put our foot down, drop our needle into the machine, and then I'm just going to sew out my name. And these can also be saved in the machine. Like if you have a name that you have to type in all the time and you don't want to have, you can actually save it in the machine too. Can we hit that? And there's my name. Okay, so this works really well if you have to I remember when we took my mom to the care center, you know, we had to have her name and everything. So I just opened her collars up and stuff, and I sewed her name in to everything. So it was nice because then it was permanent and it didn't come off. So that's a good way to put, I use letters, and it works really well on like ribbon and stuff if you want to make some. I had a gal do something one time for a banquet, and it was a Hawkeye banquet. So she just wrote Iowa Hawkeyes on the ribbon with her little letters on her machine, and it was just a perfect size, and you could read them so well, and they work just perfectly for that. So there's all kinds of little things, and these work great for like quilt labels too. So if you're doing multiple lines, what I do is I do my first line, and then I just make lines on my fabric so that I can run the edge of my foot along it, so I know that my lines are evenly spaced. So you can make your quilt labels with those letters, okay? All right, so I just kind of wanted to give you an overview of this machine. It has, this is a tension dial up here. We hadn't talked about the tension dial yet. So you want to leave it on the number 4. It has that auto threading system. The bobbin winder is great. It has a lot of nice saving abilities down here on the screen. And it comes with these awesome quilting accessories. Because the one thing that, you know, most of the people that are quilters, the first thing they buy if their machine doesn't have it is a walking foot with a quilt guide, the darning foot, the piecing foot. This is the piecing foot. And then the other one that a lot of people buy is this open toe foot. Like for if you're doing machine applique, it's easier to see where you're going. And so those are all included with this machine, and so is this extension table. So you can see it makes you have a lot more space here. Okay, and how much does it weigh? Betty, this machine weighs probably about, I would say maybe around 15 pounds, maybe just a little more than that. It's not terribly heavy. It's kind of a medium-sized machine. And then they make some nice rolling bags that these fit in. So if you have to carry it around, this is a really good carry around machine. It has enough stuff on it. And it's especially if you have another big machine you're accustomed to sewing on. I really like this because it has enough, features like the cutter and the speed control and all that I don't miss those things. And then it sews really well. And it comes with a lot of feet and everything. So, but I would say 15 to 20 pounds probably. So it's,
Brother website says 27, but I think that's what the box.
That's the box. Yeah, the Brother website said 27, but that's the whole box, I think. So if you're just talking the machine, it's around, I would say 15 to 20. Okay. So what do you think of the PS700? This is the Brother PS700, the pace setter. They call it that. They kind of rebranded everything. They went back to the pace setter name because this was a name that they had many years ago. My first machine said pace setter on it. And so the PS700 and the PS Betty, I can't say the price of this one online, but if you would personal message me, I will tell you what it is. I just can't tell. This one is one of the machines that they don't allow us to say online how much they are. So I can personal message it to you. Okay. So, but anyway, this is the PS700. And next week, I'm either going to do the PS500, which is the step below this machine that doesn't have quite as many saving abilities and stuff, or I'm going to do there's another one called the BQ950, which is the one above this one. So I haven't decided which machines I'm going to do, but it's nice to see some of the differences because when you go from this machine up to the 950, which is the next one up, it's also going to give you auto tension. So the tension dial here will be gone and the tension will be adjusted down here on the screen. So that's one thing. And then that machine also sews sideways. So we may do the 950 because it's kind of a cool machine. It also comes with all these accessories, okay? But it has a few more high-end features that this one doesn't have. So this one's kind of one in the middle, and it's a really good machine. It just has a lot of nice features to it. It sews really well, and it's not terribly heavy to carry if you need to carry it around. All right. So if you give me a second, I'm going to put the camera up here and we'll say goodbye. So hopefully that helped you learn a little bit about the Brother PS5, or excuse me, the PS700. And a second here, find my camera and my microphone. Okay. So hopefully this helped you a little bit, learn a little bit more about the PS700. Next week, we'll do another sewing machine. I like to show the sewing machines to people because there's so many nice features and you may not have ever seen that machine before. So I will do another machine next week. So this month is going to be sewing machine month. Okay, so we'll see you next week on Thursday at 2 o'clock for another sewing installment of sewing machine month. So thanks, everybody. Have a good day.